Hey, welcome back to the Almighty Psyche podcast. This is a brand new season with brand new faces and brand new humans and experiences that will shed some beauty, shed some light, and shed some inspiration into your ear holes. That's right, your ear holes. Today I want to invite and highlight an amazing human being, Sinjun, and we're just going to dive into this conversation about creating some really beautiful art that he's made, and also talking about the inspirations and just the spiritual and the creative life. It's truly valuable, and like he says, it is very nutritious to the soul, and it's very nutritious to the mind. So let's jump into it right now.
It's Hananan. All right, bam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Check a check. Can you say some words to make sure I got your vocals nice, just in case?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Do you see me? Happy. Woo woo.
Oh, I see you, B, baby. I see you, B, real clear.
Yeah.
Oh, it is such a pleasure. Thank you for joining me here. Honestly, like after I watched your
Is that right?
the Dive for Light. Oh my gosh, you're such a beautiful human being. There's so much symbology of the creative life, of the spiritual life, of a life that I've grown so accustomed to, but it was so out of reach for so many years, you know. So just watching through it, just listening through it, like half the time I was just like whatever, you know. I'd look up to see some of the pictures moving, and then I'd just close my eyes and just diving in my own light. I mean, that's the whole point of just going deep within yourself. I thought it was so wonderfully done. I thought the storytelling was incredible. I thought the woman that played just the voice was so easy to connect to. I thought the whole thing was a masterpiece, honestly. Just a beautiful masterpiece. So can you tell me a little bit just of how, I guess, just the process of making that, and then jump back before that and tell me what you're trying to capture for the audience, and what what inspired it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And it makes me happy knowing that to you it was nutritious and inspiring. And that was definitely an intention from the beginning. You know, I think one of the questions that I asked myself early on was, can I make something that's helpful? Can I make something that is, nutritious and medicinal in some way and inspiring? And it feels good to know that it's hitting on that level. This story, it's hard to know when it actually starts and begins and where it ends. And it just seems like, every month it's becoming, I can't tell if it's what's in my life in the story and not, and just, it's been such a journey, discovering the story and listening to it. And, it has things that go back many, many, many years. And, some things that are in the story, I didn't even realize were part of my own life until later. It's been quite a process for me. I'd say, it's hard to know where it begins and ends, and it's been a listening process for me, a process of, not so much creating the story, but just listening for what it is.
I completely agree. And I also enjoyed, I think it was on Instagram, you were posting little feathers you would find every day, or no, that was at the end of the video.
Yeah.
Little feathers that you would find, just a little synchronicity, just saying, keep going. And
hold on, the video is cutting out there. Can you say that one more time?
You started talking. So I was just talking about the feathers and had the little synchronicities that you're seeing and finding, and I'll just make it a comment of how beautiful life is, and that you found your signs to keep on going, keep moving, whatever it was, and create such a masterful project, and overcome these difficulties that we all face. So I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, my grandpa has this saying. He calls these synchronicities, he calls them God winks. So it's kind of like God's, winking at you. And there were plenty of those. And the feathers were, they seem to always be a message of encouragement to just keep going. The main character in the story, Yiziza, she gets these wings to upgrade herself and fly, which is kind of a rebellious act. And I tell you, like, everything that had wings, whether it was insects, birds, chickens, turkeys, whatever. Everything with wings in my world seemed to be winking at me and communicating and sending me a message like, keep going, do what you're doing. And those feathers, they would be coming to me like in the most magical places. I'd be, at a warehouse in downtown Los Angeles, this place that's, there's hardly any creatures or nature here. It's a lot of warehouses. And then boom, I'd look on the ground, and there's a feather right for me right there. And, it was hard to ignore those messages. And I feel like those were little winks, from Yiziza to just keep going and keep pushing ahead on this journey.
I completely agree. Like I feel the same way that, when you go out into the world and you're living your passion, and you're living your truth. Yeah, there's little winks that come and go. I remember for me, there was a moment I ended up just like flying to the UK for I don't know, call it for love, and then it turned into a whole adventure. And life was winking at me through like sunglasses, just random things. I'd walk around, lose my pair, and then find another one, and it says like sunshine or just smile or just something that was pertinent to that moment. And man, like that was my first experience of God in that sense. These almost seemingly empty things that had so much depth and meaning that nobody else would understand. You can try to explain it from A to Z, and they're like, oh, dude, you just found a pair of sunglasses, or you just found a pair of feathers. But it's so deeply ingrained, with who you are, what you do, that it just moves mountains for you. Like, holy moly, that's like, this is breaking the matrix right here. So I thought it was wonderful that you shared that. I thought it was beautiful that you included that, especially at the end of the video. We do have a poor connection, but as long as this conversation can still keep going, and like you said, you'll send me the audio, I think it'll be perfect. So like, man, I'm so excited. I thought there was a beautiful moment somewhere in the beginning where Ziza was saying like, I got these feathers, and they're not practical, and like, cause you can't do them for a job, or you can't like do anything. They're just there to be there, and what a beautiful symbol for again, just a creative life, a spiritual life, because they're not necessarily a necessity for it, or a practical necessity for it, but it enriches your life, it enriches your soul, and you're able to reach different worlds. And I thought that was such a beautiful portion just to add, and it's so small, but it speaks volumes. So can you tell me a little bit about your personal like spiritual journey? How were you always like this? Did you always have these thoughts in mind, or was there a beginning to this lifestyle?
Yeah, one of the things you mentioned earlier reminded me of the first moment that I felt this oceanic feeling that you could call God. And, it was, I think you mentioned something about, looking up at a light or something when you were in the UK. I remember being, I think it was like 7 or 8 years old. And I was like looking up at a blue sky and just the immensity of it, and looking at that blue color and seeing that it goes deep and deep and deep and deep. It's not like a flat color that would be on a piece of paper or something. And, I still, there's nothing that I think can replicate that visual, that look. There's some kind of depth to that when you look into, a deep blue sky. And that was the first moment that I had felt like my thoughts melted away, and I could just feel something that was real and loving and beautiful and beyond anything that I could imagine and conceptualize with my, my kid brain. And even now, so, that was definitely the first experience I had of this oceanic, loving, great spirit, and it continued. I don't know why, but I have always been interested in that realm, in the mystical, the spiritual realm. My grandpa was actually a minister at this place called Unity Church. And Unity Church is like, the way I describe it usually is like, it's like the teachings of the hippie Jesus, like this hippie guy who was like, hey, just love everybody, and that's how they are at this church. Like they love Jesus, but they're very inclusive, like I remember going to his church in Dallas and seeing on the wall, there's like a painting with all these different religious symbols from around the world, the Buddhist symbols and cross and the Om and the moon and star from Islam, and like all these different religions. It's like, hey, everyone is cool here. It's all love. And I remember that from early on is just seeing his path and being really inspired by this commitment to spirit and love. And yeah, I can remember that even in high school. And I also remember from a time when my dad and I actually went to see these Buddhist monks who were traveling around the country. What are they? They do sand. They do these like sand mandalas, beautiful mandalas, and it takes them like 4 days or something. They stay up, and they take shifts, and like they're constantly working on these beautiful, intricate mandalas from colored sand. And they make them on these giant tables, and while they're doing it, they are giving, they're saying prayers, and we went and saw them, and they also did some chanting as well, like deep, throat chanting. And yeah, at the time I had made an Om t-shirt, and I did like the Tibetan Om, which is kind of like, it's got a little style to it. It has these like sharp lines. And, I was wearing that shirt, and the monk, like the head monk, I got to meet him afterwards. And he like ohmed into my Om on my shirt. And man, like when that happened, I felt like he like blessed my artistic, spiritual path in some way. It was so real to me. And I was changed.
That sounds divine, truly and honestly. That sounds amazing. Just getting hit with those reverberations. I think that's a very lovely story. How has that played a factor, like in the, I guess in your creative realm? Because again, just watching from the end of the video, like I can see that you have played a huge part of just learning how to, animate and learning how to just put everything together. How many skills did you have to bring together to pull this off? And was that always there? Or did you, again, pick up one, you're like, this is nice. And then you picked up something else, you're like, oh, this is nice. And then so on and so forth until you got to a point where like, oh my gosh, I can put these skills together to create this immersive experience.
Yeah, it's funny because at the beginning of this project, it was not anything like what it is. It was not in the scope, and it wasn't as multimedia, multifaceted as what it was. It was almost like each part of the process brought up a new problem, and solving that problem required a creative solution that I had to ruminate on and think about and meditate on and try different things. And I'll give you an example. One of the things that happened was the beginning had a little short story. I had asked myself if I could, what would happen if I made an album, which I've never done before. I've never made an album before. And I was really inspired by this idea of stories and how stories are so fundamental to our operating as human beings on this planet. Like we are literally wired for story, the same way that a bird is wired to fly north. Somehow it knows, they don't have a little birdie conversation and they're like, oh yeah, this thing's going to happen next year. We're going to fly this north and here's the pattern. They do it. They just know. And, I feel like, we're wired to understand things in this way with a beginning, a middle, and end, and, like the hero's journey and that whole realm of understanding. And it's so fundamental to us. And I was thinking like, I want to make art that is impactful in some way and helpful. So yeah, I should be using this story thing. So, I went down that path of, like sensing out the story. And I had a short story where I had sectioned it off so each chapter would have its own song. And now the problem became, well, I have all this story. Well, how the hell am I going to get people to read it? Because, our attention span's like a goldfish, basically. So what would I do? Would I put it on the description on the video, like that chapter? Just read below in the description. And then like, 0.3 people will read that. And or I was like, well, maybe I could. And this was a process over many, many months. Like I would be, thinking about this and going, and at one point I was set on the idea that I'd figure out some way to put it on a separate website, maybe have you just the song next to the text. And at that point there was no visual other than the idea that there'd be a nice, album artwork of the girl. And many months went by and just trying to solve this problem of how to actually get people to read the story and interested in it. And one thing that I do frequently is like if I have an audiobook that I like, I will then go get the regular book just to kind of like read it, and I'll soak in different things from it when I read it. Or if I have a book that I read that I like a lot, really do, I will get the audiobook and kind of like and listen to it, and I'll notice that I pick up different things. And I remembered that technique, and I was like, you know what? I haven't heard the story yet. I've read the story. So I recorded myself saying the story, and so I could listen back to it and just hear it. And at the time, like a couple weeks before that, I had also made like a meditation type ambient song to listen to when I meditate. And I was like, oh, cool, I'll just throw that behind there, a little backing music. And when I heard that back, boom, that was it. I knew like that was what it was supposed to be. I was like, this could be an audiobook with music behind it. People don't have to read the story, they can listen to it. So dude, when I found I had a similar process with the visuals, because at first I was like, cool, then we'll do a little moving wallpaper, a little maybe like 1 minute loop of her standing. That's it. And then we'll just have the audio for an hour and a half. Cool. It's like an audiobook with music, a little, And I don't know, it just kept evolving. I was like, well, we could also do her flying. Let's do one of her flying. And then I started realizing like, holy shit, every scene, like we need to keep doing this. And like, I should have done a shout out Mario Teodosio, who did the main, digital illustrations, and then I animated them. And, it was so much work. 'Cause these files, man, like they were like 3 gigabytes for the one of her standing there, and like to try to get After Effects to animate that, I was like, and I'm using a laptop, man, and I'm just like, I had to learn animation too. I didn't know how to animate. I had to I spent 2 months pulling all-nighters, and I will say thank you so much to fucking YouTube and all these tutorials, man, because like I kind of I learned enough to do what needed to be done, but damn, there was so much more. And I'm like, I appreciate animators and like that work, man. Like it is no joke. It is just so much detail. And you have to think of everything like frame by frame. Like it's crazy. And like I had this experience where Okay, so I had designed the sound of her like touching the void link, and then the visual of it too, and then she's talking and there's the story, and I'm like, whoa, there's like this, what am I don't know, this isn't music production, this isn't animation, this is not, I don't, but I'm like all the way, like there's this hyperdimensional thing of story, music, and the animation, and I'm sensing all parts of it. I didn't even, it wasn't like someone was like, okay, cool, now you do the music, dude. It was like I can pick how that sounds. I know I can design the sound because I know how it's going to look, but also, so I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what it's called, but and then at that point, the project pretty much doubled or tripled in size. And then, it kept kind of growing in a process. It was, for me, it was, if I could explain it, it was like a process of growing and being like, I guess I was like the gardener or the shepherd, just kind of like, watering the garden and like seeing where the plants want to grow. And then, and eventually those things started to combine, the writing with the music and the visuals, and then looking at it as this plant that had grown and be like, whoa, that's cool. Okay. That wasn't the plan originally, but I like it.
Which is one of the most beautiful parts, I'm sure you would agree, about art is, you kind of set in there with some intentions with a seedling that you put into the ground. And then, see how, I don't know, how this creative energy kind of flows through you to evolve something that was, might have been small into something that's, a full tree. I draw so many connections with you when you're saying that. It's incredible. With my personal journey, just same things. Like, hey, started painting. It was like, who cares, right? Nobody's watching this. Nobody's understanding the intellect behind it. Let's put some words behind it. Then get into music. They get into marketing. They get into whatever, talking, podcasting, connecting. And each step, like you said, you're like, all right, so I find myself in this, let's call it a rut. I see a problem that has emerged because of my past actions, just even to express myself. So how do I take that rut? How do I take this problem and then use the same creative process I used to create to overcome this one to create something next? And then you just Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. You just copy paste until you get to the final masterpiece. And I know I know you're never done. We always have to decide where we want to let something go. So I know that this can evolve to next, like a live action movie or something, or like, you got The Rock Johnson playing as Aziza and he's just like massive wings. He's already played, the Tooth Fairy in one of the movies, right? So you can play it just beautifully. I'd watch that and be like, man, Aziza, you got a nice six pack. And he's very light and positive as well. But everything always evolves. And for me, it was also that understanding, like one small seed of creativity can just expand onward and onward. I think it's so beautiful that you stuck to it and you expressed it, and you expressed it so beautifully. I can't stress that enough. Honestly, I can't stress that enough. It's one of the greatest things I've seen in a long time. And and that's why I really wanted to do this, just to try to get people to understand, to go there, to just experience it for themselves. It's an hour and a half, hour 45-minute movie, and if you don't want to watch it, just lay down and just listen to it. Like you're saying, it's an audiobook, but with visuals. And it's a novel. It's a beautiful. It's poetry. Every single word is poetry. The meditation music is amazing, and just to compliment you a little more, I thought marketing wise, it's amazing. Like, it's incredible because you have the story again. You're attaching songs to it, so now somebody can go and listen to the songs and then go back to the movie or watch the movie and be like, oh, songs. I'm gonna go watch the songs. Everything's connected, right? If they want to read it, I'm sure you have a published version that you're like, here's a book. Go ahead, you can buy this and you can read it, and that way everything is everything's connected, which that is the whole point of even life, or the spiritual life, or the creativity life. Everything is connected, and you've done it so well. So can you tell me a little more, just if you can take the storyline, and again, it's symbolic and it's beautiful, and narrow it down to just to a message that you want people to hear right now that they might benefit from. What is the message that you're trying to portray with that whole story?
Ooh, that's a big question because for me, I know what the message is for me, and sometimes when I hear it from other people, they pick up on different things, and I also think of Yaziza, and her request to me was, "Hey, help tell my story." And I also imagine, what does she want the message to be? What was her intention for us to get out of it? And there are many different layers and meanings in this, and some of them I am discovering afterwards. I'm kind of discovering more that's in there that I didn't realize before. And one of the themes with Yaziza is that she's following her heart, but she doesn't know exactly where it's going to lead. And there is this constant surrender that she's doing, like she's surrendering the not knowing. And her message, for me, one of her big messages is just to keep going. Like, even if you don't know, but your heart knows where it's going, follow your heart and it will take you to the right place, and feeling that, there are times in the story where, her wings kind of pull her in a different direction, or she's uncomfortable, but it's always leading her somewhere that is helping her and helping her grow and, spread her message and beauty and follow her own excitement, which is just a great compass for life. And knowing, that's one thing that I really tried to live her message and whatever was in the story, to really live it, not just like, read about a cool helpful idea and then just write it down. I really wanted to live those principles and ideas myself that are in her story. And even when making the album, one of the things Yaziza says a lot is, follow your heart, follow that excitement, follow that feeling. And, from the beginning of working on her story, there was this unknown. I didn't know where it was leading me, and I didn't know the scope of it. I didn't know that, but it led me to where we are now with her full story complete and, and in this multifaceted way. So, and diving deeper and resistance diving, I think that's one of the things that she talks about as well, was resistance diving. And that's a hard one, cause it's so easy to go with what's comfortable, but, we ain't going to learn to do those good flying tricks and cloud surfing moves if we just stay comfortable on the ground. Right. But yeah, it's been, her message is something that I know I'm discovering what it means for me. And I want to leave the door open for other people to take what they want from it and what she wants to tell them. Cause I'm sure there are some times when it's not even what I thought, people would get out of it. And I'm surprised by that. And it's been fun to watch it and listen.
I completely agree. I mean, that's, again, another beautiful part of art is, as long as we are expressing our truth and as long as we're expressing something that's deep to us, then other people are going to find that and they're going to express themselves through it. Like I think that is our job as an artist, is to create something that's so relevant and relatable, even though it's so deeply personal. It's those deeply personal things that we share with each other. Just because the experiences on the surface might be different, just because the people might look different, on the inside and on the depth level of who we are, it's the same experience. It's the same emotion. It's the same pain. And that's why it's, again, as artists, we just release it out and say, hey, I know I feel this way. I know you feel this way. It's might not be everybody, and everybody not be able to connect to it or even be ready to connect to it. But put it out there for people to have the access to. And the name Diving for Light, I think that is also a beautiful, beautiful name, beautiful symbolic. Diving for light. Where are you diving to? Into the depth, your depth, into the darkness, where light comes from. In the depths of darkness, you will find your light. In the depths of darkness, in your darkest hour, you will realize your worth, your potential, your love, and then you decide, do I want to stay in the darkness, or do I want to, start shining my light in this darkness? Do I want to be a part of it, or do I want to allow it to mold me into the light that you are? And that's it, again, in the storyline. That's exactly what it is. Go follow the pressures, follow your fears, make yourself better, grow, expand. And I can see that in you, the storyteller as well, because the story doesn't come out of the thin air. You're talking about expressing it and trying to live it. And I believe that, because you can't tell a story like that and not live it. We have to do our best. So I was going to ask you, is Aziza a part of, is that your feminine side? Is that, or is that somewhere the name came, or this individual came? Who is Aziza to you?
Yeah, Aziza is a young, curious alien girl from the ocean-covered planet Joom. And she's a real girl out there. I keep saying this, she's out there. So, on top of her being, a real girl out there, she is, she had me diving into the feminine side of creating. And I have a very masculine way of creating and manifesting, which is very warrior mode, which is I'm going to go to battle, disciplined. We're doing, we're up every day doing this 24/7. There's a lot of, action and effort in that very masculine, way of doing things. And, with this, I feel like I got schooled on the feminine, the divine feminine, the feminine way of manifesting, which to me is it's patient. It has all the time in the world, but everything gets done. And, that was hard for me to learn, because I have this way of, we're charging ahead. We're doing it. This is the time frame. Boom. And, and it was no. It was sorry, that's not going to work here. And, I'll tell you this. So on the flying creatures, they had a way of educating me as well and giving me guidance. So, one of the things I was reading while working on her story is there's a book called Animal Speak, and it's a guy who talks about paying attention to different animals that show up to you, because sometimes it's like a dream and they will have a message for you, and they will, depending on the animal, it's different for different people. What it means, like a squirrel could mean very playful energy, or it could mean, saving. It could mean saving money because they store their nuts, and they're preparing. So it kind of depends. You kind of have to sense it out. He talks about this, and I was noticing, and so at the time of reading this, I was noticing that there were a bunch of fruit flies in my kitchen. And I'm like, what are these fruit flies doing? Why am I paying attention? Why are they showing up? Oh, that's cool. They got wings. That's cool. So, I read about them. I did a little I looked at some documentaries, on YouTube and the Wikipedia page, and something stuck out to me about them. And they lay eggs, and the eggs take anywhere. So check this out. The eggs take from 2 days up to 3 weeks to hatch. And that's such a wide range. So they lay these eggs, and guess what? It's totally dependent on the outside conditions, the temperature. It's nothing the fruit flies have control over. They don't have control over the outside environment. It's just going to happen when it happens. So yeah, at that time, I was experiencing some walls and roadblocks in the project and getting frustrated because things were not moving along as I had planned. And there we go. And I felt this, when I noticed that with the fruit flies, there was like an aha moment, oh, that's what this is. I'm getting I'm getting guidance that things need to happen that I don't have control over. It's almost like some strings need to be pulled in the background of this dimension and reality for this project to work properly. So I need to be patient, just like the fruit flies, like give up control over it. And I would say that would be a feminine way of manifesting and waiting. And there's that saying of how nature doesn't hurry, doesn't rush, but everything gets done. Like, the trees are not in a hurry to get, the buds going, the leaves going, and all that. So that's something I can intellectually understand, and I have for a while, but to live it and really, work with that wisdom, that's a whole nother experience. So I really got schooled on the feminine, and Yaziza is so feminine, and I really wanted to make sure that I was not, it wasn't like, oh, a dude made that. Yeah, a guy totally made that. Yeah, look at her, her like a lot of times a guy, you can tell when a guy does it if it's like super over sexualized and like, the whole like, characters with big tits or whatever. It's always like, it always has this, it always has like a, you can kind of tell the thumbprint on that. And I wanted to make sure that Yaziza was true to her, who she really is. And that a woman, a girl could see her and be like, oh, I could totally see myself as her. So, I definitely, she had me diving deep into the feminine and, and getting schooled on that stuff.
I completely agree. And honestly, the first time I watched it, I was adamant. I was like, a woman did this. And like before even just like exploring who did it, I was like, oh, cool. Some girl made this thing and it's all beautiful and it's all pretty and it's great stories. I was like, yeah, this is nice. And then boom, it's this bearded man. I was like, what? A bearded man? He's so amazing. I love this man already. So yeah, you did an amazing job diving into the feminine side, and I also agree with the fact that she is out there in a sense. So many parallels between you and I, my friend. So many parallels. Just again, myself becoming this person, and then just like living in the feminine. Especially going from the masculine. So yeah, I'm really good at like forcing things to work. I was like, you know what, if you need me to get something done, I can get it done. I don't care how it's gonna get done. It's gonna get done. and like just full masculine. And then I was like, all right, yeah, just went into the feminine. I was like, oh my gosh, you just create this void and then it gets filled? What do you mean? And it's so beautiful. Just the art of allowance, honestly, just here's what I need, and you open yourself up and just like it gets filled. It's I don't know if I still understand it intellectually, but it's man, I'm swimming in it, and it's so beautiful. And honestly, it's.
What was it that brought you into the feminine? What was it that brought you into that out of the masculine in that way?
So creativity kind of flourished within me when I decided to stop pursuing being a doctor in medicine and just kind of work with my hands. So that allowed me to understand just my ability as a creator. And then I've always been someone who was looking for love, always trying to find somebody to love. Like I'm a romantic at heart. And, it was never working out. It never worked out. Probably because I was always going for like taken women. It's like boyfriends married. And then I was like, oh no, you left me. How dare you? Obviously, I was living my own karma. And it got to a point where I found a human that reflected the person that I wanted. A relationship that was freeing, liberating. There's mutual love going back and forth. And after that, I understood what I was worth. I understood what was possible. And then understood that if you wanted to, find that, you had to become it. If you want to see something in the world, you have to be that person in the world. So the feminine started calling me, and I was like, all right, well, take yourself out on dates, love yourself, right? Exude that love. Don't expect it from other people. Create it, and then you'll be in love, and there will be in love, and then just fall in love with love. And just that took me out into understanding that there is this, individual that's also, the divine feminine, or even the divine, what do we call it, divine flame, and just kind of understand that to be one with an individual like that, with Yaziza, or with that pure femininity, you have to you have to work on yourself. You have to get there personally. So I've been just, again, following the breadcrumbs and finding myself just more feminine here and there, and finding a good balance between masculine and feminine. So then I can still go out there and find an idea, creatively speaking. And then, like you said, at the end of your video, it's like, utilize my drive to make it happen. So I was like, oh, here's this idea. I was like, of beauty and love. How do I materialize it into something more concrete? Hey, YouTube tutorials, make it happen, send it out, connect to people. You know, it's been the most wonderful journey. Which one do you prefer, masculine over feminine or feminine over masculine? What do you like? What's been more interesting to you?
Yeah, I would say different times it depends. Like it depends on, sometimes that feminine way of doing things is the right way, and sometimes it's more masculine. And I guess it's a balance of finding and listening for, you know, when to use that, when to use each. And you know, I also think of the yin yang symbol, you know, and the center is where the magic is, you know. That's where the Tao is, and also, well, I could think of nature like a hurricane, right? And it's hurricanes going around, and we could say those are different, you know, forces, the feminine, masculine forces, and right in the middle is is the peace. That's the center. That's the presence. That's, you know, stillness. And but, you know, also being a man, you know, I find myself definitely, you know, more in the masculine, and I'm also listening right now for inspirations and things, and feeling like a fire type of thing, fire energies, and exploring that. So yeah, I like both. I like being able to have both as a tool. You know, it's like this idea of, we always have this dichotomy, like we're trying to choose between one or the other, and how about both? You know, we could also use both, and what a wonderful world we live in, where we have these polarities. You know, I heard someone say that the only truth, they've studied a lot of everything, history and psychology and the world and spirit, all this stuff. They have lots of experience, and they said the only thing that I can say is absolutely true out of all this stuff is polarity. You know, and yeah, and we're in the middle of it. I mean, yeah.
I completely agree. And like you said, yeah, the finding the balance, the middle way is the way. I mean, that's the Buddhist teaching. Like you said, the Tao, it's there. And man, I am happy that it's becoming more acceptable in society for people. For women to be more manly, for men to be more feminine, to find that balance for themselves, and to create something so darn fucking beautiful. See, I like that. It didn't cuss and then cussed. Boom, contrast. There
you go. You're doing it right now. Yeah, and I think there are some things that, you know, are supposed to be masculine. Some things are supposed to be feminine. Like for a while, I was painting my nails. I'm like, playing with that idea of like, well, why can't I do that? Like if I want to have, you know, colorful fingernails, yellow or whatever I'm feeling, why if that's what I want to do, I'm going to do it, you know? So, and I think that, yeah, there seems to be in the world right now a disruption in those patterns that we have, you know, and that's cool. I think it's beautiful. I think Yuziza would like that too. She's got that green skin, and, you know, one of the questions she was saying is like, I wonder if, you know, what do people think about being able to change your skin pattern to what you want? Do you want stripes that day? Do you want spots or whatever? And damn, I mean, we're expressive creatures. Like, we're going to play with that. We're going to, wherever we can put our little creative minds and hearts and create and do and express ourselves, damn, we're going to do it.
I completely agree. And it's such a testament to freedom, to sovereignty, to just, hey, whatever you feel, do that. It doesn't matter what the outside world tells you. It doesn't matter what somebody wants out of you. What do you want? And do that. And then just follow that and be true to that. And that's such a pure and such a just admirable message to send. I mean, through every moment of that hour and 45 minutes, every moment had such beautiful messages to just deliver to the audience. I admire you just for making it. I admire you for channeling it. I admire you for continuing your growth. Like, it's a refreshing thing to hear, because sometimes, I'm sure you feel it as well, sometimes you feel like you're the only one just battering your head against the wall saying, what is happening here? Why? And then you come across another beautiful individual who I feel like I understand. I mean, obviously, I don't know everything. There's an infinite world of who you are that I could explore at any moment. But at least the core values of just like, hey, here's love, here's freedom, here's expression. Like, be you. Be you. That's it. Just be you. It's so lovely.
I feel like that's such a simple message, right? Like, be you. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. And that's kind of cool because it's a process of, what I think of is like Bruce Lee doing the 1-inch punch, right? So to him, when he couldn't do that, there's some truth to him that, like, I could do this thing. I know I can do this, like, 1-inch punch. To him, that's a truth that he can reach for and express himself doing. But damn, does that take a lot of punches? It takes a lot of, like, practice to get to that truth, to get to that, to get to that true punch, that true kick, the true one. And it takes thousands a day, and I feel like that is one pattern that I've seen a lot too in people who are masters at what they do in art, especially, and they go through this huge volume of work, and the whole time they feel, we feel that there is this truth that I'm reaching for. There's this thing, and being able to express it. I remember when I first started making music, and I would have these ideas in my head, and like, then I'd be sitting there working on this thing for hours, and then it'd just be like, bleep, bloop, and I'm like, I'm frustrated because, like, I can feel this truth in me, and I can feel that music wanting to burst out, but I wasn't able to create it yet, and I think there is this, being you and being honest it sounds easy, but it might be the hardest thing you've ever done. And that's awesome, because that's the journey, right? What's been your experience with that?
Vulnerability has been my best friend for so long now, because it was that, we build up walls against who we are based on other people's opinions, other people's minds. And like, just finding out that I can transform and I can become the person who I want to be rather than the image other people want me to be. Like, the very first step I did was like grow out my hair, like, all the way. I was walking around with like a lion mane for a while. And, I come from a Russian background. I was born in Russia, moved here in 2002. And that is just, it's like, in our family, it was a huge no-no. Like, you have to be masculine. You have to smoke cigarettes. You have to drink alcohol. You have to fuck bitches. And I'm just like, all right, cool. And I followed along for a while. And then, again, it brought me pain and suffering. And I knew there was things that I was, I guess, hiding, but not consciously. And it slowly started to come to surface when I started meditating and just purging all those emotions that I've had deep inside of me. Again, didn't even know, but I remember I was meditating for maybe a good year, and every night for like 3 hours a day, morning, mid, afternoon, and night, I'd come in, and at night I just stand up, just bawling tears. It's like, oh my gosh, I did this, I said this, I've done this, I feel this, and then I'd go in, and next morning I'd try to fix it somehow, just ask for retribution or whatever it was. And I remember I got to a point where it was gone. It was free. I was free. And from that moment I realized, like, oh my gosh, I I can do anything now. I can be anything. I can, like, nothing can stop me. And that was the first moment I was like, all right, I'm gonna grow out my hair. People told me to always cut my hair. Like, that's not, like, you're getting too long. It's not manly. So I was like, I'm gonna fucking do it. So I did. And God, the first moment I got even an inch too long, my family, my friends, everybody's like, hey, you should get a haircut. Yeah, you should get a haircut. And at this moment, I understand it's like they're trying to mold me into something that they want, not me. I was like, no, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Oh my gosh, it was almost nothing, but it was such a battle. And then when I found myself on the other side, I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I started, making clothes like this, and I started wearing like funky colors. And again, it was revealing, and it was uncomfortable at first, but then I set into it. I set into my skin and set into my colors, and like now, people look at me and they're like, "Are you for real?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, baby, I'm for real." One of the last things. I went out before the quarantine. I went out to like a karaoke bar, and this is like a biker bar. Like there's just bikers, and they're just all burly, and just and then and I'm like, all right, I'm already dressed like all bright and colorful, so I go sing some karaoke, and I'm just like. What was it? Can you feel the love tonight? And I'm going up to like people and just like serenading them. And then for like 3 hours, I'm just dancing by myself in the middle of this biker bar, just by myself. I had some friends, and they're like, "What the fuck's happening?" And then I had like bikers come up to me, and they're just like, "I respect who you are," and they just shake my hand. They're like, I really appreciate who you are. And he's like, "How high are you right now?" I was like, "Bro, I don't even drink. I don't smoke. I'm high on life right now. This is dance high." And they're like, "Whoa," and then I ended up leaving with like 25 extra friends because they were just really appreciating. And we started dancing more, and people started singing more. So it's like before I would have never done that. I've been like, well, they're gonna beat me up. What are they gonna think? And now I'm just like, this is who I am, and I'm gonna shine my light. And you know what? If somebody kills me for it, great. If somebody loves me for it, great. If and just allowing the experience to be whatever it's gonna be. And it's so beautiful. It's so darn beautiful. Who did you ever think life could be this way? Like, I never thought this could be even a thing, and I know that it's only gonna get bigger. Did you ever see yourself completely opposite, and then you'll find yourself here?
Yeah, it's interesting because I am in a process of being back here, and I just moved back home where I grew up. So, I was out in LA for like almost 15 years, and now I'm returning back to home where I was, and never. I remember thinking when I was growing up here, not ever even imagining what my life would be like in the future, like and now looking back on it, and going, wow, all that happened. I can't believe, I lived there and experienced it and got to do all these things. And yeah, and what a badass story, man. I want to like just bow to you a little bit on that, man, because like that is such an awesome story, and that's so needed in the world, man. Like that, what you did was, nutritious for other people, because those people they're gonna go back home, and like they might have something they want to do that they just don't do, and like, because they're afraid of what people think, and we're all afraid of what other people are going to think. Like we all are. And then like that, when you see someone who doesn't give a fuck and just like is proud to be themselves in that way, that is one of the most powerful things. Like it really is. It does help people. I mean, you may not ever talk to those people, have a long conversation with them, or give them advice or whatever. Like you're doing it just by your actions, your movements. And I respect that, man. Cause like that would take a lot of courage for me. And, maybe that's something I'm going to put in the little challenge, box for myself to do. That's just badass.
Thank you. Yeah, I think dance, honestly, I think dance is one of the most potent magics, if you want to call it that way, or expressions as that I've found to date. You know, I've dabbled in, you know, or dabbled. I've dived deep into, you know, paintings and drawings and digital design and just like, you know, storytelling in general. You know, music also. You know, guitar. I'm sitting here just putting all these things in there and just trying to feel personally like what it does to me and how it relates back into the world. But dance, oh my gosh, it doesn't. I don't even see what it does to other people because I'm so entranced. I'm so lost, and it's this like first time because I'm getting back into like this state of being as well because you know you go off and you come back and whatever it is. But I remember a few years ago when my first initial experience with just like the divinity of life, this unity, this consciousness that exists. I remember I was dancing just again at a bar with a lady. And we were just dancing for like 3 hours, just, you know, crowded, huge bar or club or whatever it was. And we're just dancing with each other. And honestly, for me, it felt like sex. It like the orgasms, the energy moving, it was so intertwining that it was the first moment that I could experience such potent bliss that was outside of sex. Before that, that's the only place I could find it. And now I'm like, wow, dancing is sex. And that's been my revelation. Like recently, I was like, oh my gosh, if I just dance, I get lost in these, just these energies that I'm producing. And I'm like, what? It's unfathomable. It's unfathomable. Like if you go anywhere next, just dance, explore it. I can't stop shaking my booty. I can't stop doing like plies and stuff. Like dance is powerful.
Yeah, I do feel that, you know, I feel like dance is going to have a moment where, you know, we're all doing yoga and meditation. Like dance is going to have its moment. It's just so, you know, it's your cardio, it's your booty to soul nutrition right there. And, you know, that's funny that you mentioned dance too, because today's quote, I've been memorizing a quote every day this week. And today's quote is, you don't stop dancing because you get old. You get old because you stop dancing. And yeah, for me, making this story album has been a process of exploring movement and dance. And one of the things that I wanted to do was I challenged myself to be able to dance, to move, to shake. And like when I would make a beat, feel it out. Can I dance to this? How does that feel? And, you know, I even like had a friend of mine, I paid her for some like dance lessons for a little bit. I went to a lot of like ecstatic dances, and bless up to the LA dance scene. Like there's just so much magic there. And it was so damn, I would say healing for me and helpful and wonderful. And it really I just really have this strong feeling of like how powerful and nutritious dance is and movement. And I love hearing about your experience of that orgasm, you know, on the dance floor. And I've had an experience where I was dancing I was dancing on the dance floor once, and me and this girl, we connected, and like, there was a fire. I don't know, like I've never felt anything like that, but it was like boom, like there was like this energy and flame. It was almost like you're dancing in the middle of this bonfire, and it's just it was this feeling that I swear for an entire week I was like, I just couldn't stop thinking about that on the dance floor, and it was so satisfying and awesome and badass. And like I'm like, that's a whole level of existing in this dimension, in this body, that I didn't even know was possible. And then, you know, what else is out there like that? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's the thing. What else is out there like that? Like, yeah, we're driving this incredibly complex machine that none of us really understand, let alone consciousness, which drives the machine, which drives the experience. So it's like, every day I'm like, I'm searching for a new kernel. What's happening, right? Like peace has been the easiest thing to attain. Like I found my foundation. I'm chill. So it's like, where can I go from this piece? What can I achieve with this? Where can I stick myself into and just see something new, something different? Because it's happened so many times already that like my mind is completely open to what it can happen, you know? So it's like, I'm sitting there and just thinking, what where? I mean, I'm not rushing anywhere, but it's like, I'm looking for you, baby. Oh, is that you over there? So, do you have any idea where you might go next with creative ventures, spiritual ventures? Is there something that's looming around your mind that you're going towards?
Yeah, I definitely feel there's this obsession I have with like prehistoric time periods before we've settled down in civilizations, and probably like think about 50,000 years ago. I think it's called the Upper Paleolithic. And just being there at the first bonfires when people would come up with music and dance and this movement, and just imagine doing that. You're at this campfire and you're dancing and like, this is a new thing. We don't even know what this is. What is it? I don't know, but I'm moving like this and it feels damn good. And damn, if I could go back in time, experience that, or just, it's cool to think that we have access to that same magical, wondrous experience, and right here, right now. And that's kind of where my head's at been lately, is exploring that. And what I noticed with working with Yaziza and her story is that a lot of things that I was interested in or musing about, exploring, they work their way into the story. So, I definitely feel myself, pulled in that direction. I'm feeling fire a lot. I'm feeling getting pulled into and being interested in fire, and story. And it's all one thing. I don't know where the line separates between, the art and life. And I'm sure you feel very similar in that way, because we're expressing something that we feel, and life is what makes us feel, and living, and what a wondrous puzzle. And I also like how you mentioned being so complex we don't even understand it. And I like to philosophize a lot, and just think about some of these big picture questions. And I think one thing I keep coming back to more now is being humble to the fact that I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. And there was a guy talking about this late last year. I remember this guy talking about how you are the most complex thing in the universe. What makes you think you even understand what's going on in there? And and I think of how humbling that is, and how beautiful, and how, how much there is to explore. Because as far deep as we look out into the universe and we go, oh man, if we get this, the new telescope coming up, the James Webb telescope, wow, what are we going to be able to see with that, and how much further and deep, and are there other universes and all this? Well, I sense, and my intuition tells me that there is just that much to explore inside as well, that we don't know, and what to explore. So, and we can all dance with it and move with it and play with it. And, even though we don't totally understand what's going on, we can feel it.
It's completely true. You can feel it. You can express it. Maybe fire dancing is your next one. Take dance and fire, put it into one. Do you have? I noticed some tattoos you have. It looks like a little tattoo here, blue and white with some dots. Is that?
So that's actually just tribal markings that this awesome, wonderful company based out of Los Angeles. They're called Tribal Markers, and they're like this. They're tribal markers, and they're non-toxic, biodegradable. And they have this awesome tip where it's like got 3 on one side and then a solid one on the other. So it'd be like this, like here's the solid right there. And then you also have this other tip that's like 3 lines. Here, we can look at it a little bit easier like this. All right. So they make these in different colors, non-toxic, biodegradable, make art on people anywhere, anytime, on you. Super fun. Like, I highly recommend, this to you and any of the listeners, like tribal markers, like they're just a lot of fun. They last a long time, and they're just art, like paintable art on people and anything. And I can't recommend them enough.
That's fantastic. No, totally. Like I'm all about drawing on pants, on paper, on people. So yeah, it would be definitely nice to have some markers that I know are toxic safe, because people drawing on Sharpies with Sharpies. I'm like, bro, that's gonna get into your liver. You don't want to do that. Like just let it go. So this is amazing to have that. I definitely appreciate that. And do you have any other tattoos? I keep seeing like some.
Yeah, I've got I don't know how many I have now, but they all have different stories. Like this one's a candle. It's kind of upside down there. This one's a candle. So that's the reminder to me. I always write stuff on this hand as like reminders, like a list. This hand is my reminder to just shine like that candle, because a candle doesn't, you don't light a candle to put it under the table. You put it there to light up the room, and it's just going to shine. And it's kind of like a star. Like a star doesn't look around to other stars and be like, whoa, I'm shining a little too bright here. I got to tone it down, because like I'm like being too bright for my neighbors and my friends here. No. It's shine. That's the rule, and that's what it does, and that's what you do, and then we do, and it's just a reminder to do that, just to shine. And yeah, like I just saw, I've been wanting to get a lot more ink. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but I just feel that urge to like continue art, making art and putting art on me. And a friend of mine was showing me all his work he got done yesterday, and it's like it was 12 days of tattooing over 30 days, and it's just he covered his entire body. I mean, the pain. Yeah, you talk about an initiation experience through pain. I mean, that's impressive. That's it's incredible. What a great time to be alive, where we can be these canvases. And I also think like in the future, we're going to be able to have tattoos that you can change and modify, over time.
That makes sense. Definitely. I mean, that's not like we have crazier things right now. Like right now, you can get a tattoo just of a waveform, right? And then you can just get your app, and then it plays the actual sound of the waveform. So we can take this whole podcast, tattoo it on our bodies, and then just have a little app that plays this podcast. And for me, I was like, wait, what? Like, I understand it. I dabble with production and music creation, all that stuff. So, but I was like, wait, you can just what? So that's been revolutionary for me. I'll definitely get something like that. But it's the same way. I found myself in the same place. I have one tattoo right here. It says "Music is life." My friend, stick and poked me, and it was awesome. I got up. I was like, "Whoa!" I feel high for like 10 minutes afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, it's gone." But I just got a tattoo gun so I can start, getting my hand on it and then start drawing on myself. I love drawing stuff. And my next one is was a plagiarism from a painting. I saw a painting, and it was like a woman, this beautiful woman, and on her arm is tattooed, "What will you do while you wait for me?" Or "What will I do while I wait for you?" I think one of those things. And oh my gosh, it happened during one of my travels. I was going through the West Coast, just touring with my music, and got to St. Louis Obispo, which I love that place. And this is just on the painting, and I'm always in like one with life when I'm out and about. I'm just there, whatever it is, and I'm moved very easily. So I found this painting, and that was tattooed on the painting, and I was like, oh my gosh. Tears right there in the middle of the gallery. Tears, and then I had like a good hour conversation with the gallery owner about just like life and stuff. And I'm like, damn, this is crazy. Like the people I meet, including you, just because it's random, that have so much in common. Like you and I are family. Just you're the things that you've gone through. I understand so deeply. Like the whole namaste thing. I see you. I understand you, and that's the biggest thing that I want to accomplish in life is bring those people together. Be like, hey, you see these people? these are the people that see you. That's it. And it's again, it's one of those cliches things, but cliches hold the deepest truths because we're missing that. Like I miss that from my own family from time to time. It's hard. But then I meet you, and I'm like, here's my family, and there's my family, there's my family. These are my family, and they are God. I love them so much. I love you. I love you so much. I love all of you so much. Oh, I can't contain it. I cannot contain it. I'll talk for hours. I think we should definitely talk about like philosophy, maybe like next time, especially just whatever, future on. I love getting to philosophy. If you like philosophy, just like, or at least listening to philosophy, there's a podcast that I found just incredibly useful. It's called Philosophize This, and my gosh, there's so many great ideas that I've applied as from an instinctual kind of way, understanding, maybe from the feminine side, and then having the intellectual understanding of what's happening. I thought it was very beneficial. Like just thoughts of Plato, Socrates, and then a lot more newer philosophers too. Like he covers everything, and the man is hilarious. This is like a philosophy comedy podcast, so he's like really funny in delivering it in the imagery he provides. Super professional. Like, oh, I think you would appreciate this, and if not, you don't have to listen to it. But I think you'll love it. I think you'll love it. But yeah, I think we should wrap it up and then see how we can. If you can send it, I'll upload it as soon as possible. And definitely stay in contact. Like if you need anything, like I'm here. If you need help, I'm here. Like man, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I've really enjoyed this conversation, man, and I am pleasantly surprised at how badass you are and how wonderful this conversation was, and just like it's been a pleasure talking with you. The questions, and you're just a special badass human being, and you are doing it, man. You are bringing people together, these creators. I remember when I first heard your show, and just like, I swear within like the first minute, I was like, yeah, this guy, he gets it. There's just, you're riding this wave, and I feel like I'm looking over and you're surfing that wave too. So blessed to you, man. Thank you. It's been an honor to be on this podcast. Thank you so much for having me on here. I appreciate you and what you do, man.
Such beautiful words. I feel the same way. Like the fact that we connected is it's juice. It's juicy. It's honey on the lips. It's honey in my heart. It's just I'm engorged in honey right now. But yeah, don't be a stranger. If you need anything, just reach out, please. I look forward to helping you on your journey in any way I can. And yeah, dude, stay in contact. I appreciate you. I love you so.
Bless. Much love, man. We will talk again very soon.
So, name's Sinjun Nujnis, which is, it's back and forth. It's a, what did you call it? I don't know. But you mirrored your name. Is there a story behind that, the mirroring of the name there?
So it's Wesson is my last name. And sometimes I'll just use Nujnis I'll use Sinjun backwards for like the last name. So my name actually, my birth name is Justin. And I kind of like tease my parents a little bit, because I tell them like, hey, God whispered in your ear my name, Sinjun, but you guys didn't. You guys changed it because growing up, we were very religious, and anything with sin would not be good, especially the name of your child. And it is a name that has been, with me for a while. I started using this name for my art and making paintings and music years ago, and over time I just felt more and more like this is my name. I like to go by Sinjun, call me Sinjun, introduce myself as Sinjun. And I think very soon here, I'm going to be going to the courthouse and going to change it. Like, we're just going to we're going to go the whole way. So yeah, and I feel like, yeah, I left some breadcrumbs for myself in this life to find that name. Because I believe that's the name that I use every time I play a game. I play, it's my character. That's my avatar here in this dimension, and that's the story for that. But yeah, sometimes it's backwards. Sometimes I play with it, and why not? If we have a little chance to be creative and express ourselves, then and that's what we want to do, like we were talking about earlier, then damn, play with it, do it.
I completely agree. That's why, my name is Andre Psyche. I like the name Andre. I love it. And then my last name, Pavlenko, no one can say it to save their lives. So I'm like, all right, I don't know how Psyche came to me. Or initially I started my company called Almighty Psyche to kind of point people into the direction of, Almighty Psyche, the all-powerful mind. We all have this all-powerful mind. You can do anything with it. And then slowly I was like, oh, Psyche is kind of cool. I'm just going to tack it onto my name. And it's been everything. Like I use it. I was a teacher for 4 years. So I went by Mr. Psyche and they loved it. I loved it. They'd call me Mr. Psycho sometimes. And I was like, oh, you call me Mr. Psycho. I'm going to let the psycho out. You don't want that. And sometimes they did want it. And I had to put my foot down. But, education is education. So I definitely feel you on that one. Can you tell the audience, the world, the universe, where we can learn, where we can see this story that you and I have talked about so deeply? Can you tell us where we can go?
Yes, Diving for Light can be watched on YouTube, actually, for free. Anytime, any place, anywhere. And the audio, so Diving for Light is a full movie. It's a feature-length animated film and a 9-song magical bass album. And I'm calling it magical bass because I really tried to find what's the best way to describe this music that has been that's in the album. And it's magical bass, and we are it's up on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music, all the traditional streaming and audio channels on planet Earth. You can get it there, and also on YouTube. For each dance song, there is also a music video as well that takes parts of the story, because each song in the album comes from the story. So, and comes from the chapter in the story. So for song 2, the story, the dance song is Awaken, and it's about her first time flying. So in chapter 2, she goes on that flight, or sorry, chapter 1, she goes on that first flight, and she's exploring and finding something new, and the song builds up to this crescendo when she flies and discovers that new thing. And, so I listened for, what is that going to sound like? What does it sound like when you're flying for the first time? Or like in chapter 3, it's called Universe, Y-O-U, Universe. And if when you watch the movie, you'll see why is it called Universe? And this dance song is called Oh My Goddess for that chapter. And if you listen to the movie, you'll find that the dance song and the movies use similar sounds for that chapter. So they play with each other. And the dance songs, I also pull from different places in my life that I've experienced similar things to Yaziza to do the sounds. And I'm excited to take y'all on this cosmic journey. Just come with me and play and explore. Let's listen to Yaziza, go with her, fly with her, and enjoy this journey. Check it out on YouTube, and also on Instagram at sinjun.art, and more places. We'll see. We're going to play. We're going to explore. Thank you all for listening here, and I really hope you enjoy this cosmic journey.
A nutritious journey, definitely with your help as well. Incredibly nutritious. I will include all of everything in the links. Thank you everybody for sticking around. Enjoy this beautiful episode on repeat 2,000 times. Please share with your friends, and we'll catch you next time with our conversation or a conversation with another guest. Thank you, and I don't know. I love you guys. Bye. Before we go, actually, I have another question before we go.